Our teaching today is coming from Pearl of Wisdom, volume 29, number 48, beloved El Morya, dated October 19th, 1986. Spirit of the Great White Brotherhood. I like to speak forth and call upon it as the spirit of the Great Enlightened Brotherhood, because this is a brotherhood that's giving us the teaching and the wisdom. And they are telling us that as we continue on the path, we will also be looked up on as the enlightened brotherhood. Because as we are given that wisdom and that knowledge, we see each and every one walking around, and they were saying that wisdom came with the gray hair that we be wearing all the time, which means that you have had an opportunity based on living our souls right, that the wisdom that we garner, we're able to walk in that light and share it with each and every brother and sister as they move forward in this action. And as we notice, the next tune is Schooling the Desire by God Control. So in the reading, as we go into it, but I just wanted to kind of hit a top section here. It says, each one then must school the desire. The desire is not king and queen. The desire is subject to the will of the spirit spark who descend. The desire is an accoutrement of a garment, the effect of the identity, an identity in God, beloved. Therefore, the identity may direct all desires according to the will, but they will not succeed without love or without wisdom or without the purity drive of the mother. So without the God flame, all of these things that we're looking forth and looking into doing and having, that desire as we move forward, you know, we kind of read in our study today that the masters are saying that they are willing and they would be, kind of put it in my frame, excited to work with the ones that have made up their minds and know where it is that they want to go, because they can deal with those. They can work with those. In other words, they have somewhere to start because they know that that desire is spoken forth and the person is living by that desire. And then we look at the reinforcement of the Christhood in a spiritual community. So as our community grows and come together, we are thankful for that light, that each and every heart, each and every one is able to share with the other one and to raise each and every one up and not hold them back, because we're able to give that light. And one of the exciting things, the most exciting thing that I've had happen to me today, I know everybody can't see it, but our beloved brother, David Lemus, walked in and said hi, and he would like to say hi to each and every one. So of that light that he's sharing with us and being able to be here, it's a light that we're able to elevate and raise up as each and every one of our brothers and sisters come back together and share forth thy wisdom with us and stand in that flame. Now, beloved, El Morya starts off his text today. He tells us the light done and the Darjeeling master is pleased. In other words, the light has begun to appear in each and every heart, that as they put forth that light and share forth those electrodes that's set forth in the earth, that they are given off, they're emitting that light, and we'll be able to receive it. Our beloved Morya says, I am in the heart of every Chela, and I stand with you in this hour of the dark cycle which has turned. Now, we're told that in our footnotes that on April 23rd, 1986, the dark cycle entered its 18th year, which is a signification of the return of personal and planetary karma are cured through the misuse of God's light and the failure of Christic initiation under the hierarchies of Gemini on the 5 o'clock line. And Moria goes on and saying, turning, my beloved, you also turn toward the light. And as has been said, when you are facing the light, the shadows are behind you. And so it is. Let the light always be before you and the shadows behind you. Let the roving eye of God, the all-seeing eye, 360-degree eye of God, remain in awareness and in God control of the shadows. So all that is not of the light should be in your rearview mirror. So we should be able to walk in that light. You've often heard me sing the little phrase, walking in the light, beautiful light. Somewhere the dewdrops of mercy shine bright every day and every night. So as we receive that light of the Almighty, we are proud. And he goes on and said, let us speak then of the shadows and the shadowed one. For beloved, there are levels of control and God control that you know not of. Because of all the things that God has in plan for us, we have to be willing and ready for them. We read in Genesis chapter 28, verse 1 through 7, it tells of Isaac. He called his son Jacob in and blessed him. And he told him where to go and find a mate. And on his way there, I'm kind of paraphrasing, I'm not reading everything from the Bible here, but as he went in that direction to find his mate, he ended up falling asleep out in the wilderness. And he put a rock on his head and lay back and went to sleep. And as he was dreaming, he saw angels, a ladder extending up to heaven, as it was angels ascending and descending the ladder. But at the very top of the ladder, he saw the Almighty. And as the Almighty shared with him, he says, I am the Lord of Abraham and your father, and God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and your descendants. So all the things that God have planned for us, we just have to be ready to know that at any time, based on what the calls are that we're making, we're able to receive them. And he goes on, beloved, El Moria says, ask us the question this day, what can you control in your life? The only thing which you can control in your life is the self. But it is not lawful to control any other self save the parent in God control of the child entrusted to their care. Beloved, understand well then the meaning of the predicament of free will. Just suppose against the backdrop of cosmic and universal systemic and planetary forces moving in, through, and around the individual. Beloved one, it has never been more precarious, hence more important for the Chela of the will of God to be in control of his mind. And Moria says we have to be in control of our mind and the forces that's guiding us, our hearts and our self-knowledge, and to be there are preparing to enter the Gemini mind of God. That is the Alpha and the Omega of the central sun of your mighty I am presence. And its cosmic importance, O Chela, that you do heed my words, and as my musing and commentaries upon the scenes of our time past, from me through the messenger to you. For often in the moment and in a comment, you will find the telling of all that is required to unlock the puzzle of the presence and the mysteries of life. Inasmuch then as it is so, that God control within the individual must set the bounds of his habitation. Understand this, that when you remain in God control of the four lower bodies of energies, of the electronic belt and the karma, and when this God control is not by human will, but by your acquaintance with the mind of God, then the forces of the central sun of being, which is the heart, began to expand and not undulate. In other words, it's not wavering, but to hold its position as a central sun of the auric envelope. So as we are enfolded in this auric envelope where our light is all garnered up, the masters tell us that at some time there's a chance of pinprick holes that they have to repair and patch up. But as that light drips and spills through the pinprick holes and rent in the auric field, they seals it. It said, beloved one, the strength of the auric field is the strength of the electromagnetic field, the latter being more permanent, whereas the aura is more reflective of momentary ups and downs. We then come with the putty of blue lightning and the sacred fire to assist you. Our angels then mend the energy fields in the auric envelope as you are seated in loyalty and devotion in this hour of our moving. Beloved, you are most beloved. Thus, it is our desire, we, the Darjeeling and the Indian and Royal Teton Council of the Great Enlightened Brotherhood, with whom you serve, to give you an awareness this day of what it's like to be free of the leaky vessel, to feel yourselves in the auric envelope that has warmth and power and the presence of God, so that as you move through your day-to-day sense, you are in the presence. You do not stray from it, and you are bound in the joy and knowledge. My Redeemer liveth. I am who I am. I dwell in the presence of God. I feel that love with me always, and therefore I know I shall reach the place and period of my destiny. I shall go beyond these years of adversity of the planet. I shall find myself yet in this body and in this day. Our beloved El Morya shares with us that we should give this fiat daily. And if you would be so kind and indulge me, we will repeat this once again together. And it reads together, my Redeemer liveth. I am who I am. I dwell in the presence of God. I feel that love with me always, and therefore I know I shall reach the place and period of my destiny. I shall go beyond these years of adversity of the planet. I shall find myself in this body in the new day. Now, beloved El Morya goes on to say, beloved, if you do not feel this comforting presence of God with you always, then he gives us the instruction of saying, then I would say, you ought to consider having a certain concern regarding your maintenance of the harmony of light. You have invoked and regarding danger on the path of life, whether from invasion of disease or accident, or simply from being at the wrong place at the wrong time, which has proven fatal to many in this unleashing of terrorism. Beloved one, we come then with this presence of love. As you feel it from our heart, remember, it is not only your I am presence and the Holy Christ self and Holy Spirit with you, but it may very well be the overshadowing of an angel, ascended master whom you love, an ascended twin flame, or an angel sent by one of the archangels to assist you. Rejoice then in that confident presence and value it against all commodities and situation and position in the earth. For there are places in earth, beloved, where you may wonder, which are so dark and heavy, many there not far from your physical, from you here physically, where the presence is neutralized by the darkness, only because your God mastery in that presence, in the folding of it, is not yet attained. And therefore, the present rises to a higher electronic field, and you are unable to sustain that very light in the place of darkness where you may roam, where you may find your employment or other goings and coming to fulfill the necessities of life. My beloved brothers and sisters, I would love to share with you one of my experiences of the same thing of what our beloved El Morya has shared with us. Picture, if you will, I was at my home one weekend, and a friend of the family came over. And this young lady, she came over, she rang the doorbell, and my wife and the rest of the family was in back, and I went downstairs and helped her to come in the house, help her to get upstairs and bring in her bags. And when she came in and sat down, everybody else had a conversation going on in the back, in the kitchen, I should say. And I was sitting there talking to her. And it was such a dark place that this child was in, and the darkness that she was carrying. We sat down and talked for about, I don't know, I wouldn't say over 10 minutes, maybe a little longer. But within the next 30 minutes, all of my energy and light was gone. It was zapped. I went back to my bedroom and derobed and got in my PJs and got back in bed. When the wife came in and found me, I had the covers pulled up to my neck. And she asked me, says, "What happened to you?" And I said, "I thought you was going to the store." But this young lady drained every ounce of light that I had in me out, and I was wiped out. I was sick. I couldn't get up. I couldn't move. I couldn't go anyplace until she left the house. So when you speak of darkness, you have to understand, if you don't put on your protection garment, you never know where the darkness is going to come from. And it will walk you down. And that's one of the things that we're reading about and coming forth with today. And Morya goes on and says, "I ask you this week then, in the name of the first ray whose Lord I am, to take the opportunity for self-observation, that you might note when come the absence of this comforting warmth of the sunlight of your Christhood. What is the cause of it? Go after the cause, be it fear, anxiety, mundane involvement, or allowing the world's energy to enter through excessive access to your life stream of the media, such as television, etc. Beloved, safety is indeed in the ark of the Lord. Therefore, with all your getting, get the ark of the Lord. Come, can you find it? Can you see it? He asked. It is the place prepared, indeed, the place of your heart. All of this light and protection and guidance and wisdom that we need is already stored in our hearts. We already know that everything that we need, God has told us that He'll write it in the innermost parts of our hearts. Wherever we want to go, whatever we need, it is there. The place of the aura. Safety in the great enlightened brotherhood. May it be a cloud of witness around the sustained by your heart pull and tug on the angelic host and your love. Safety in the heart of the threefold flame and the Buddha. Safety indeed in the Christ. Thus, beloved, Sin has almost come to that level of certain disappointment in the fact that all we can ever control is the self. That is God's gift to us. How then do we enter into this mighty works of the ages, the perfecting of the self and the holding of the balance in the earth? It is quite simple, Moria says, by the invocation of cosmic beings and Elohim, whose aura in electronic magnetic fields easily contain the earth or the solar system or the galaxies and beyond. For truly Elohims are the body of God. Since each one may be in God control of his electromagnetic fields and aura, you may understand how the presence of a single twin flame manifesting of Elohims in the earth in the physical octave through which chelas, physical chelas, may hold in God control to the extent of the law of karma and free will, a planetary life wave on earth body, our elemental life. To a certain extent, then, your invocation to Elohim, sustained as a vibration to your aura, does provide Elohims with the anchor point of contact physically, thereby allowing those electrodes placed in the earth to have greater physical manifestation, where the free will of light bearers, the world around, provide a stable aura for Elohim to manifest through you. You may then visualize an antakarana, another word of oneness, a starry body composed of light bearers, each star a point in the electromagnetic field of the Alpha and the Omega of Elohims. As star clusters in the heaven are seen as outline formation, constellation, and figures, so visualize then the mighty aura of purity and Astrea, Hercules in Amazonia, surrounding the earth, and then the solar system. See all light bearers as though they were stars, chakras in the body of the Elohim, each one a point emanating that light into the physical octave by the authority that is given solely to those in physical embodiment. Now you see how your participation and membership in the body of God, membership in the great and enlightened brotherhood, allows you to be the will of God to participate in a greater aura of cosmic being, for God control of worlds and the outcomes of event in those worlds. In many ways, we thus come to the appreciation of the great enlightened brotherhood, that those who suddenly awaken to the cosmic consciousness become aware of their own lack of it in the presence of such being may not delay 2 or 10 million years till they might also attain to the level of a cosmic being, but join forces with that one and become a part of that specific body of God, for truly Elohims are the body of God. Thus, all who realistically is assessing their own attainment and feel inadequate to the holding of the balance of a planet may have immediate recourse in this fashion to enter and become a part of the body of light in the entire spirit of the Great White Brotherhood. Then consider that we ourselves as ascended masters are newly ones may from time to time feel inadequate to a cosmic challenge and therefore become ourselves a part of the universal body of God, the universal mind. Increasingly, you see, we have all at our specific level of understanding of the law. When we enter the one and the one true body of God, each position as a starry chakra, emanating the light of your own causal body and befitting from the light emanating all others. We can see, as our worlds say, the light at the end of the tunnel. We can see the matter cosmos swallow in the body of God universal. We can see all things coming to culmination and the spirit, and then devouring the matter cosmos, even as the serpent swallowed his tails. Beloved one, this principle is the law of the one that is carried then in the practical reality of this community of the Holy Spirit, and does underscore why so many and all have sought and decided to join themselves to a spiritual community. They have felt the reinforcement. Aye, indeed, it has been the reinforcement of Christhood of every individual and that community for strength, and is always in the light. So as we read and understand that we are stronger together as a community of light that God has drawn together, that the masters have reached out and strategically placed us one here and there. I know it seems as if we are spread out quite thin and quite far, but there's a reason for the electrode that's being placed around so that each and every one is able to do the work that the masters have given us in those areas. As one of our sisters shared with us, it's amazing in time and in place as to where we end up being in a lifetime. So as God placed us around, there's a reason that he does what he does. He places us so that that light that we have, that we're able to share it with other brothers and sisters to enlighten them and bring them along on the journey. Because I've talked to many brothers and sisters. The one brother called me from Florida, and he wanted to share what type of person he thought I was. And he says that, you know, if it hadn't been for you, I don't know where I would be at this day. And he was, he's a great guy. And the one thing that he was able to do, as he shared with me, is that everything that I shared with him, he was able to make it work for his family. He was able to, he worked with me for a number of years, and working with me, he saw the type of person I was and how everything went. And, you know, and also kind of knowing what was happening. It was one of the, I mean, you would probably look at it and kind of shake your head, but I was working on a prison over in Indiana, South Bend, Indiana. And the prison that was over there, and so I couldn't take any of my guys in. So I had to have a whole new group of guys to come in. And when I worked up on this particular guy with him, you know, it was kind of one of the things that they were so thankful that your spirit is what they remember. And they remember that spirit that you share with them, and that light and that wisdom that you are able to raise them up. Now then, beloved, they have crossed your days, newspapers, your earth, your nation, certain most disconcerting situation that have truly taxed your imagination as to how the one or the few in your area could indeed hold the balance of light when the prevailing world opinion or local opinion have been directly in opposition to the light and the Christ. Thus I come with the reminder and the perspective that all of us have gleamed, and we have served in the light in all ages until the one enters the onehood of the many and defies it as the great enlightened brotherhood. The one may achieve only so much. Consider then those forces arrayed. Understand how the law of positivity, the law of absolute good, must have the circle of light drawn about his members, and his members are it filled in their intensity as opposed to this distension. And that's this saturation as opposed to their extension, must have the capacity to swallow up the prevailing darkness, else darkness will prevail on earth. For the universal transmutation is by the body and blood of Christ in ye all. Saturate ye the body, temple, and chakra. Know the meaning then of the great central sun magnet that ye are, for I describe it as the gird of light of Elohim, into which one, by 100% free will, you will insert yourselves. You can accomplish this, beloved, but only if all forces are willing. Else the large body will eject the attempt and transplant a lesser selfhood into greater selfhood with the pronouncement, go back outside of the circle. Thus has not been the unity of life, purpose to become a viable cell in the universal body of God. Therefore, we deal with the desire that is deflected in the center of every cell of your being, the desire that is centered in every organ and chakra. The desire to be God must be full, else thou cannot be full of light. Desiring spring from the deepest well of life. We who then must keep the fires burning in the mental quadrant of the earth body are constantly confronted with people's desire at the subconscious level, diametrically opposed to the words, the act, the efforts that are carried out from the mental level, until in some the word is meaningless and has no relevancy to the reality and to truth. And indeed, beloved, across the planet, there's a babel of voices that confirm personality, vents anger, frustration, retaliation. And all of this does not reflect that the desire for good or for ill. Beloved one, those who are out of touch with the seat of the desire of their being, always trying to be someone they are not, trying to do something to please someone else, to appear wise and to advance politically or financially. These are the most sorry states. They are most unreal and most uncomplimentary in any situation, for they never bring out the best in others or in themselves. We've seen that. We kind of see it every day. A lot of things happen, of things that are being falsified. So, the one thing that I try not to do, I try not to get into that pathway of that, because it does the same thing. It diverts your energy and take away from who you are and the work that God has given you to do. Beloved, the individual who is truly in touch with the desiring of the heart and the soul can deal with it, can confront it, and has the understanding to know that he can elevate that desire, accelerate that desire, infuse it with light and wisdom, even as he would mold the clay and refashion a sculpture of the man himself. That individual then is pleasant to be with, even if he may be on the dark side of life. For the one in touch with his desire is at the starting point that may take a divine direction under the guidance of the guru of the great enlightened brotherhood. Take the individual who hates, desires to hate, knows that he hates and that he desires to hate, knows that he desires to murder. At least he's integrated with his inner being. He will be true to himself because there's an integration in this desire. Because there's an integration, this entire momentum may be turned and harnessed and to the desire to love, the desire to embrace God, the desire to give life and not take it away. We can work with such individual, says El Morya, but it's difficult to reach a point of contact with those who do not know who they are because they do not know what they want. Today, they want this. Tomorrow, they want that. And the genie hops from this assignment to the next, never able to complete any, for the genie of the mind become confused by the desired body of the soul that has not become the captain of her ship. Beloved one, we can do little for such individual, for even if we should desire to play Santa Claus, it is not the will of God. Thus, beloved, when you salute the banner of Maitreya, determined to walk in the direction of the North Star, the mighty I am presence of the true North, beloved, we may assist you. Be certain then that in your desire to be married to the Christ and to be married too quickly, that all your uncontrolled and unassessed desires are not like the tin cans and horns that someone has tied to your chariot labeled just married. In other words, don't just do something and just hear the clinging of the noise, because once they tie these cans to your car and you're going down the road, everything is just clinging. But if you're not true in your love and desire for where it is that you want to be and what it is that you want to do, it's not gonna weigh well, and you end up in a divorce sooner than later. And that's what he's sharing with you. Don't get tied into God, and then the next thing, into the masters, and the next thing you don't want to be a part of it. Beloved one, I am serious. For those who would wed the Christ, yet have dangling out back in all these unsold things of the desire, truly, truly, beloved, cannot remain wed. And this is the cause of divorce in the physical octave and trouble in the marriage circle. Each one then must school a desire not to be king and queen, the desire subject to the will of the spirit sparks who descended. The desire is an accoutrement, a garment, an effect of an identity in God, beloved. Therefore, the identity may direct all desires according to the will, but they will not succeed without love or without wisdom or without the purity of the drive of the mother. Thus understand, when you recognize wrong desire, you must enter the heart of Alpha and Omega, hence into the heart of the Gemini mind of God, into the great circle of the Tai Chi, where God is. And you must put on the cloak of God's desire. You must try it on, and you must say, if my desire is incorrect, and I suspect that it is, what is God's desiring in this matter? I will go to the fount. I will experience it. I will put on my devotion, my own Krishna consciousness. I will rise in my holy Christ self to the heart of God's desire. I will see through the eye of God's desire. I will love through the heart of God's desire. I will speak the words of God's desire. I will try it and see how comfortable I am in this state of God's desire. And if I may leave the mooring of my human desire that binds me to dangerous individuals and circumstance in the name of the human good, you see, beloved, there's only one way out of the limit, unfruitful, unbeneficial desire, and that is go to the heart of God to mount the tree of life, to enter in and say, what is God's desire in this matter? I have no more struggle in me. I can no longer be torn between this and that. For too long, I've been vacillating like a pendulum, where Moria cannot even keep track or would be. You see, beloved, for all of us at any place of our spiritual manifestation to know and become the higher point of reality we desire or should desire, we must go there and settle the matter at once and entirely, and then put on the garment that bring us back to the place where we are as an embryo of light and an embryonic sun that surrounds the heart and being, and determine and say, my guru has pointed to this spear. My God, whom I perceive, is thus so inclined, and of this mind, I rejoice to wear that garment for a season, to make it my own, and to make that one, and that after a certain season, to measure that which I have truly incorporated and mastered against the former state. Only from that point of mastery, you can gauge, measure, choose, decide upon the former state. Do you see, beloved? El Morya asked. This is the conundrum of the Chinese puzzle. It is the coin. It is the challenge that every guru must place to new or advancing chelas. It is the understanding that the chela must become the master first in order to truly know if he would retain the lesser state where he is now. Let us consider a movement that you are a limited state and know the way to go. Know not the way to go. There's only one way to go to find out the way to go, and that is to gain the mastery first and visit the former place as going back to visit an old friend or an old place, an old embodiment, vibration, and so forth. You have a certain mastery. You go back and you say, I am glad I made my choice to be where I am. Yes, I see. I decide here and now, I will make it permanent. I do not ever want to go back to that old place, that old Italy, that old place I used to know and love. No, I can see the place. I have traveled by Morya co-measurement. I can see that where I have gone is the place I truly want to be. There you have all done this. Thus, you have all done this. Now simply do it again and realize that no place in this physical octave can be described as any but a place of a new level of a limitation, as well as a new level of unlimited state wholeness. No state is static. Every state demands progress, lest the beast of prey come and find you, lest they sniff you out by vibration too long kept, and they may now identify your vibration. Do not hold so much of the self so long that the computer or the fallen one may have a point of contact of your identity, beloved. Be in the next place before they have found you in the first place, and they will be confused forever. And I trust you will not. So, beloved, I would entertain you a bit in the face of serious question of life. I would love you a bit more, that you might find treasures of your heart, and be not discouraged in this hour of many challenge. I tell you, there could be many more for the voices for the victories you have already won. And the truth will always be true, that God will not give you any more challenges than you can handle. As Morya shares with us, as we get these challenges from God, as he keeps giving us the things that he wants to see, that as we balance each one and move on to the next, those are challenges, those are the things that we're trying to do in life. And as we challenge each one and become victorious in it, we move forward in that light. And they are telling us also about the procrastinators. He says there's a procrastinator in every situation, there's a procrastinator in every church. So don't procrastinate, move forward in that light that you are given and in the direction that you are going. And our beloved Morya says, I assign you, O chelas of the will of God, to be diligent then in the science of astrology and mastering this Gemini dark cycle. Consider the squares that forms the cosmic cross of white fire. Consider the triune. Then consider the form that is made through each and the several combination that may come to you in the connecting of the point of Gemini to the other points of the hierarchy of the sun. Thus remember, there are 360 points, and all of these, of course, divisible. But then this that goes beyond perception is taken care of by allegiance to the path and the 5 secret rays and the heart of the Buddha. You have the instruction, beloved. You have the joy. You have a goal. Now protect these 3 and go for it. I say to you, go for it, beloved. For to you belongs the victory. What a pity that you should allow anyone else to seize from you that ball of victory. I am always, in the name of Jesus Christ, the servant of Almighty God and of the soul of my Cheelahs. I am your own, and I am with you. This is my comfort today. In the name of Almighty God, as we give thanks for thy presence and for thy wisdom, beloved El Moria, and thy guidance, we give thanks that you have illuminated each and every heart flame and given us this opportunity once again to bring forth thy word and thy light, to bring forth thy wisdom to enlighten each and every heart that receive it, according to the light of God that never fail.